hippies are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
Run it back.
From the top. Welcome back to another episode of Professional Hippies, where your favorite professionals, or maybe hippies, this episode's going to decide. Man, we missed you guys. Dare I say we needed you. Hey, if you're new to our show, let me first tell you, we like to bridge the gap between professionalism, whatever that might mean to you, stocks and whatnot, and hippie woo-woo. God knows everybody knows somebody like that, right? I'm channeling my energy right now. We're going to meet in the meaty middle, somewhere in there where your chakras align and whatnot, and we're going to spin that out of control. Today's episode is brought to you by somebody that we all need, a company, an entity. Entities are somebody's. Test Kit Plus. If you head over to testkitplus.com/professional hippies, you too can trust strangers. Remember, test it before you ingest it. Or boof it.
I think how we tested before Vegas. We had a great time.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's just something really uncomfortable about allowing another man to enter you unless you're tested, you know?
Yeah, especially when they make it, you know? And you're like, want to make sure you're good and clean first.
Yeah, and especially before you get into a dune buggy, right? It's like,
especially get the dune buggy and then they lose you, and then you're on your own in the desert, you know?
Yeah, so if you guys aren't tracking any of that, don't worry. We're going to unpack all of this. For the last week, some of that just completely disregard, throw out. Last week, I've gone from Vegas to Denver, now back to Austin. Dylan had the opportunity to go to Vegas, back to a circus. So that must have been pretty cool.
That was fantastic.
What's it like going from your bachelor party to a house? So, look, was your house still tinted when you got home? How did that work?
I left the day before, so then that next day they tinted it. While I was in Vegas, they tinted everything. He texted me, "Hey, you can go back in your house now." I come back, it's all good and done. I just have to open everything up and ventilate it. So my house was now termite free, thank God. So, but I had to come back and wash everything, even though they're like, you don't have to wash anything. You just, eat the poison, wear the poison, do whatever you want. And I'm like,
something about that just doesn't seem right.
They're like, you need to bag your food and take it out, but the stuff you eat your food on, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm like, you're whatever. I'm just going to clean everything. So that's what I did the whole past week when I got back. What was interesting was they told me when you tint a house, I guess there's a whatever's in tear gas, there's a certain type of a small thing in there that creates a certain smell, and they put it in the house so that way if there is any living thing in there, it kind of forces them out because their eyes will just start watering. It's a tiny amount, just any living thing, like, hey, you should get out of this house, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And so when you come back, it's a very sweet smell. I'd never noticed that. It came in, he was like, you're gonna smell kind of like, it's kind of hard to describe, just something very sweet in the air. Sure enough, I opened the door. It's very smelled like a candy shop almost.
The ironic part is too, when I got back, I've had like an ant problem, and I was like, you know what? I got to do something about this. So I got some DIY chemicals that, is probably going to eat through my house in itself, but I take care of the ant problem, and the termites are starting to swarm now. It's like now I came back to a termite problem.
I remember my exterminator people have to take care of, keep the bugs. I'm like, that's one cost. I'm like, just keep them out of my house. I don't care about them. Like, they don't bother me. I don't want the problem around, right? So then this problem starts happening, and then they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be about 3 weeks, before we get there. And I go, first off, it's not going to be 3 weeks, but go ahead and put it on the schedule. And then I call the guy that doesn't come and does my checks, and I was like, I'll give you $100 if you're here immediately. Sure enough, he's here the next day. I give him $100. Like, let's get this problem done. And he's like, yeah, no problem, buddy. Let's get this. I'm like, I don't care what anyone says. Your house? $2,000 to do that. Yeah. So if anybody wants to know what that costs, that's what it costs. But also, if anyone's like, money doesn't bring happiness, like, money brought termites gone by the time I got back from Vegas. That's happiness to me. I don't care.
Yeah, I got to figure that out. Anyway, so how was Vegas?
Well, what I could remember, a fantastic time. Let me tell you.
What is it about that city that just brings out the best and worst in people? Like, why is that the spot that we picked? Like, I'm going to emotionally dump all of my trauma.
Well, I think just because, I mean, we did think of a variety of things, right? We were going Denver. We thought another backpacking trip somewhere.
Columbia?
I was thinking of like, we thought Columbia.
I was pushing heavy on Columbia.
And it would have been great. But then like we started thinking about like, we want all these people to come. And it was just going to be tougher and tougher to do it.
Yeah,
we also were
expensive.
like, we need to do a combined bachelor party because we both know we wanted to go all out. We couldn't do separate ones. That was just going to be, the world explodes. when
That
it
wouldn't be
happens,
good for
right?
anybody's health. Yeah.
No. So like, let's
Just to
just
set the setting there, by the way.
Vegas.
So it was my wedding, your wedding, Luke's wedding.
Luke's
So
wedding.
we're all best buddies or whatever. We're going to have overlapping friends to some extent. So we just decided, hey, it's a great idea to combine all of this under one roof.
Yep. So we're like Vegas. It's pretty cheap to fly into for everybody. It's going to get everything that we want out of it, everything that everyone wants out of it. Good club night. We can go driving dune buggies out in the desert. We get a sweet pool party. You know, whatever other debauchery we want to get into, we can find it there. So
Yeah.
I think that was what kind of came down to. And thank God we went through a promoter. Man.
He
tell you
really did
what,
save the day. Yeah.
not save the day, prep the day. I mean, that was a man that was like, hey, you're going into war. Let's get you ready. You know,
Got our minds right.
got our minds right.
Knew the events we were looking for.
Helped us prep for them. You know,
That leaving question, though, that was the one that really got me for him. If there's a way I can leave him a review, because I know he owns, 19
I left him
different
one.
websites.
I left him one. He asked me to leave it for Wet Republic.
Bachelors
So I left him one.
Vegas.com, singlemenvegas.com.
That man was like, I'm buying every domain for bachelor parties and bachelorette parties in Vegas.
So we leave, and what did he call? He called me when I was hanging out with you. We were the last two in the house. And I get up.
Yeah.
I didn't save his number. I just pick up. I'm like, hello? Like, hey. Hey, how's it going? Anyone die? No? Okay. All right. See you later, man. That was it.
Doing a quick check-in.
Just that.
Make sure
Okay.
everything's good.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Everything's. No one
He
died.
set up the limos for us to and from the clubs. He set up to the dinner. He made sure he would walk. He came and showed up and walked us in to the clubs, to our spots, which helped us get past all the lines, which was fantastic as well. He walked us in for the pool party. It was cool just seeing like a promoter that knew what they were doing. He'd show up and everyone would just be like, bro, what's up, man? Haven't seen you for a bit. Or, you know, he's, I'm working at this place more often. It was just cool just seeing that happen.
And he conducted himself like a real professional, right? It didn't feel
100%.
like he's gone through his party phase. He's like, no, I'm good. You know, I'm gonna make sure you guys have a great time. And
because every time I asked him, I'd be like, hey, you want to stick around, have some drinks, have fun? He's like, I actually got another client I have to get to, like to do the same thing I'm doing for you. I got the other club. I got to walk to the next one. So he would line it up, you know, that he had to do to walk us in and do our thing. And he got the limos, would take care of us too. Those were solid limos that they set us up with.
Yeah, those great limos. And I was talking to Matt today. Clawing back money after the trip, I totally do not recommend. I mean, you got to be better about that. You and I are both terrible. I don't know how much money I've lost to just the ether of I wanted to have a good time, things be smooth. I'm looking at my bank statements, and there's just stuff I've reconciled. It's just gone, just shot.
Get your money ahead of time from your friends because they're your friends.
They're your friends. They understand, right?
They understand, and they're still might not even pay you. And unfortunately, they're still going to be your friends. But you know, what is life?
So I was talking to our buddy Matt today, and he was expressing to me he couldn't believe that no one didn't get arrested, and especially the pool party. He wasn't there for the pool party. The pool party is where I saw the highest probability of things going completely sideways.
I talked to the security guy, right? So by the way, folks, for the pool party that we had, we got a free upgrade at Wet Republic. We went from, when I talk about upgrade, we went from a $3,000 cabana to an $8,000 bungalow. They were like, oh yeah, we're going to upgrade you guys to here. And then the Knights, of course, had won the championship. They did their parade the day before. It turns out they show up here to do their
directly across from us.
Directly across from us. We had I thought we had the better bungalow, but same level, right? And we got to party with the Knights and the Cups. That was awesome. Getting to see that. So anyway, I went up to the security that was there next to us, and I was like, hey man, I'm going to let you know we're going, it's our last day. We're going to be going pretty hard today, having a blast. If you have any problems, come talk to me or that guy for like anything, right? Like, please don't. I know what happens. Please just come talk to us for any problems.
No need to talk. Law enforcement, we don't know them. We know them. We don't want to know them.
We don't want to know them. I don't even want to know the head of security. I just want to know you security. That's all I want to know, So I go talking with him, right? And later on, I go back to him just to say, hey, how's it going? Turns out he's from Brandon, Florida. So I start hitting him up, talking to him. Yeah, start talking about just some stuff. And Brandon, Campbell's Dairyland, shout out. He knew about that. He's like, oh, fuck yeah, I love a milkshake right now from there. So anyway, as I'm talking with him, the head of security walks by and goes like this, Bay 1. And I know we're Bay 1 as you're walking in. And I go around the corner, security comes with me, and one of our guys is passed out, on the chair. And the way he wakes him up, the security guard wakes him up. This is the bottom of the foot. He takes his hand and does that on the bottom of the foot. I approached him about that later. He was like, I just find that's the easiest way, not startle people. I'm like, hey.
That's actually really smart.
Smart way. Yeah. I just asked
no grown man wants to feel their foot tickled.
He's like, no. He was like, no one wants it, but it's also like, who's tickling my foot?
It's gentle enough, right? You're not shaking somebody awake. It's not sticking a finger in their ear, their nose,
So I tell him that our buddy that's sleeping, I take the drink out of his hand and I go in the pool, wake up, Colton's over there, go party with him. Right.
That's where that shitty face picture came from, where he's just tucked into the corner. It looks like a little turtle with his head sticking out.
I'm here because I'm told to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a timeout.
He wanted to sleep. And I saw James too, even. He went to go take a nap. And I was like, you don't nap at a Vegas pool party, man. They kick you out real quick at a Vegas pool. Because they trying to explain that to people was like, they want to create an atmosphere of like lively. Everything's having a blast. Everything's good. You see a person sleeping. One, it looks like you're fucked up. They don't want that view. And two, they don't want people sleeping. Then it just looks bad in their area. So then we had another guy in our group. He was, the security comes up to me later and he was like, hey man, I just want to let you know as well. You had a buddy stumble into the bathroom. And when he was walking, he stumbled and smacked his head into the wall. And went to the bathroom. He's like, hey man, if I kick one of you out, all of you have to go. So I'm just letting you know, so I don't tell everybody else. I was like, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Get him. And instead of telling him to get in the pool, I was like, you just sit down. You don't pass out, but just sit down right there. Well, we ordered 4 bottles and ended tequila and whiskey for the day. Right. And so and then we had another buddy towards the end. Thank God. This one's towards the end. He goes, you have a friend in there puking in the bathroom right now.
Oh, wait. I thought it was the friend that was puking is the one that smacked his head.
That was a whole nother buddy. Another one goes in and starts puking. I was like, hey, man, your pool's about to close in 20 minutes anyways. We're out of here. So
yeah,
it was like, fair enough. So
I don't remember what timestamp. I locked eyes with the security, and I was waiting for the drop and did that massive backflop. But I remember him kind of shaking his head, and I was like, "This is happening."
Something happened way out in the big pool area. We were so gone. He thought it was one of our guys because he was standing at our cabana, and I was like, "Hey man, everything good?" And he goes, "Oh no, someone's doing some stupid shit out of the pool. I just thought it was you guys, but it's not." I was like.
When we were walking back, so Nightmare was the DJ that we were there to see at the pool party. When Seth and I were walking back, God, it's so gross. Someone blew chunks in the corner of the pool.
Ugh.
And it just hung out there for the rest. I mean, this was at like 2:00 maybe. So the rest of the time, it like didn't move. It just stayed in this corner. And I'm
Thank
like,
goodness.
how the fuck are you at a pool party? And like I get it if you're getting messed up, but like you're gonna
Blow chunks.
I have never thrown up and been so out of it, especially in like a public setting. I get it, like bonfire setting, you're in high school, whatever, but like you're at a pool party, and
But you're at the Vegas pool party. That was
Like,
the thing too. Like you're gonna go that crazy that's gonna happen. Oh,
yeah, that was
now you're
not
out.
cool.
That guy wasn't around the whole time. He was out immediately. There's no way they kept him there.
For some reason, I was picking up on girl vibe puke. I don't know why that puke said to me, I have a gender associated to me. But I think it was the food and the liquid that I saw in the membrane that was, anyway. Yeah, it was fucking gross.
Gross. But it was cool to get pictures with the cup and everything. And the nights we were there partying. We had our own little pool. So our pool overlooked the big pool. That was cool.
That was really nice. See, if I would have been fired up, I think they probably would have got a lot more money out of us if I would have known that we had our own little pool like that. I probably would have jumped from that from the beginning.
You jumped right into the big pool, splashed the water onto the other side, and security all poked their head around and go, no.
It was amazing. If you needed to know how much security there was, you just had to do something really intentionally stupid.
They would swarm and be like, all of them, no, we're not doing that one.
So that one I totally understood. But the only other silly request I had is we had flamingos by our stuff, and after the whole jumping in the pool stunt, flopping the water everywhere, or whatever, I understood I was on really thin ice. They made that abundantly clear. I was like, hey, I got it. You know, one guy's like, yellow card. I was like, okay, I know what comes next. He's like, yeah, I got to get you out of here. I'm like, no, we're good. We're good, man.
Yeah.
Wouldn't let me have a flamingo. Just a simple flamingo, you know?
Yeah.
Now, granted, I probably would have bashed that against someone's skull. I understand what they're thinking.
You for sure would have.
I definitely would have, but it would have been fun. It would have made for a good video. So the pool party's a success. The dune buggies were dope. I don't know about the value, and that's something that.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him up because I still needed a brain cell to call him back, but like, I've been meaning to call him back because thank God, like we booked all doubles, right? And they had one quad there, quad dune buggy, and thank God we had one because Seth and James's dune buggy crapped out.
Just stopped working.
Just
the belt
stopped
broke
working.
or something.
And so he puts them in the back of Kavaris and I's quad, and then instead of waiting for them to get buckled up, he just takes off the leader that we're supposed to be following. And of course, you know, not y'all's fault. Y'all follow the leader as you're supposed to. And they take off across the desert. Seth, turns out his belt buckle's broken, so it's taking a while to figure it out. So then we finally get it figured out, and we just go taking off across the desert. And they tell you in the training thing, before you do the thing, if you lose everybody, just stop. They'll come find you. So we're there for like, I don't know, 5 minutes just waiting. And I don't hear dune buggies. And I was like, fuck this. I know what I'm doing. And I just rip it across the desert. Like, I knew, like, take the turns wide in case y'all are coming around them or whatever. But I just I find the tallest hill, cliff, and I'm like, I'm going to ramp down that baby. And I find that, and I go down it. And I finally found you guys, you know, work my way around there. And y'all are like, oh, yeah, he's looking for you guys. He's way off in the opposite direction looking for us.
It's a good thing you found us the way you did. And the fact that you came back, what I'm just blown away about, what did we pay? $400 an hour is what it was?
It was $400 for that. Yeah, I'm going to call him up and be like, y'all are dumb for that one. But, I mean, then again, you know, it's the best one out there for it. Everything. They had the most best reviews, everything. So, you know, who knows?
I mean, overall, was I satisfied? Yeah, for sure. It hurt. Everything you're paying for in Vegas hurts to some extent.
That one hurt the most, though. I don't like.
That one did. It just, for me, after having the experience in Sedona, where it was like same price, but you think you get like 4 hours with a Can-Am that goes much faster. Yeah. That's the experience you want. No bald tires. Right?
Dude, those were... Tyler, my brother, knew exactly what those were, too. He was like, those are throwaway tires that they go, they can still work, and they just throw them onto the... The dune buggy, and they were true dune buggies though. They weren't like Can-Ams.
They were true dune buggies. That was fun.
They were like panhandle backyard dune buggies. Exactly what they were.
I just didn't understand the whole idea behind like the safety videos or like follow the leader or whatever. As soon as I got behind that wheel, I stayed off the trail as much as I could. I was trying to hit as many things as possible, but I didn't understand if something broke, if we had to pay for it or not. I didn't.
We go. The guy that was driving the bus to the thing. We're like, how much does one of these cost? Like, $400. That's not what you should have told us. I'll take 3, please.
I latched onto that. I was like, oh, he was talking about just the price per hour. That's what he was talking about.
Oh, that might have been what it was. Because someone asked how much.
In my mind, I was thinking $400. I was like, I will pay all day to just take this thing, not even be in it, and just throw it off a cliff. Just pick it up from the back and mush it down the mountain.
Yeah,
so that was fun.
I wanted to just, because they had us waiting there forever at the end. I was like, what if I just grab one and just rip it across this desert? What are they going to do?
What are we in it for? Another $20, $40?
What are they going to do?
What are they going to do? $100 for the whole time I was standing in that fucking bacon ass sun.
Like, just grab one. Just let me rip it. I can try this better than all of you guys. Let me go. Sir, you might get lost in the desert. An idiot gets lost out here. Let me rip this thing.
That's what I didn't understand. Why we have to have a tour guide? It's pretty straightforward. Go that way to have fun. Go this way to come home. If
that mountain's on your right, you're going that way. If the mountain's on your left, you're coming back this way. Have fun.
It. There's nothing else going on, dude. There's a fucking one highway heading towards the city with all the skyscrapers. Pretty straightforward to figure out where I'm at.
I did see a side of Seth come out that I never saw before when he got behind that wheel. I did tell him ahead of time. I was like, Seth, I want my life to flash before my eyes. Yes, sir. And I tell you what, he was, if you couldn't see the other side of whatever that was, that's where he was going every time. And he goes, oh, don't hit big rocks and trees. We're going to test that. Man, did you take the instructional video? Opposite.
Right. Everything he said not to do.
It was beautiful. I loved every second of when Seth was driving. It was awesome.
That's what I didn't understand. So when we were in Sedona, Michael flipped his Can-Am. So when I let him drive first, and I was like, feel into it or whatever. I'm like, okay, kind of get after it. As soon as I got behind that wheel, I was like, Michael, I'm gonna make you fucking wish you never got in this go-kart with me. And he was okay.
That's the best part of being the second driver, because you're like, oh, you thought that was torture. Now I know.
Get a lay of the land.
Feel what this thing can actually do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, though. It was still a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I think, they probably have so much demand, they can price it whatever they want, but that's fine. But hard segue. We never ended up getting midgets. That was like the one thing that I was very interested in is finding.
I was getting hyped on that. I was like, I want to. What were they saying? That it would just. They even were advertising like, you watch us throw each other like around. We're like, sounds great. I don't know.
So that was one service I looked at. By the last night where Seth started taking control because I couldn't trust my own decisions. One of the promoters from the first nights was hitting me up, and he knew of my interest in having a midget either to throw or I don't know what you do with them. So he's texting me, and we're at the blackjack table, and that was where having someone else that was slightly more coherent than I really came into play, because I'm reading the text. I'm like, for sure, this means we can go party with some midgets. And then our buddies are reading it, and they're like, I don't know. I don't feel as confident. They had a driver coming for us. Like, we're up.
Yeah.
You and I are in the money. We had money. We made money. We're doing good.
Up.
We're doing great.
Great.
We've already done the peak and trough thing. We're back up. We're doing good. World Series of Poker style. We're about to get some bracelets. We're fucking crushing. The dealer is even telling us, hey, you guys should walk away.
Should probably walk away now, guys. Like, you worked hard. You got it.
Right? Saw a woman win $1,000 on some bullshit. Didn't blink. Didn't even
The lady next
acknowledge.
door wins $1,000. They have
Like
to go
chain
through all this
smoking
checking.
cigarettes, you know,
Making-
just hanging out,
Talking
waiting on the
about,
dealer.
you think this $1,000 is something? This time I won $34,000.
I didn't know
It's
what the fuck
crazy.
she was talking about, man. I had so many beers. I
That
mean,
lady kept looking at us like, you should leave. Not like looking at our eyes like, it's going downhill now, guys. Like, you should get out of here.
What was the line you said, Dylan? Annie, I want you to make it hurt.
Yeah, I looked at her. She goes, you should get out of here. Like, make it hurt hard. And she goes, all right. And she would too. She started lifting. Like, she knew every time she would lift it. Like, she wouldn't like flip it over. She would do it slowly. Pain.
I've
That's how
never
that went?
seen a dealer do like tantric sex with a card before.
And
Like-
she would be laughing like Medusa when she did it too. Like,
She's like rubbing the nipples on the cards. She's like, you got a 13? You want this 10? We're like, yes, mommy.
please. Yeah, every time she took my money, thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I wanted.
What a wild swing, too, you know?
That was
mean,
the most fun I've ever had losing all my money at blackjack.
that was like, I don't even know how many hundreds of dollars, too. Because, like, I was down like $100 or 200, and then I'm up like 400 or 500. I didn't know. There was just chips in front of me, and I'm making bets between $15 to $150 at a time, just throwing stuff around. You know, she didn't care. I didn't care. No one cared. We're just laughing. Just laughing so hard. I remember the thought of, I should throw up right now. I will get some relief. I remember that thought.
We're losing money, and that lady next to his husband walks up just because this casino sucks. That was peak mental loss right there.
That was
sure.
so beautiful. We're having this moment. Angie, two Asian dealers, Angie and Annie.
Annie and Angie. They're
God
older. I
damn.
mean, they're 70s.
It
Having a
reminded me of
blast.
that the claymation celebrity death match. Do you remember that from back in the day? Where they were announcers just switching in and out.
Just
and they're
switching out.
Oh, they're still here? Hey, watch this and just
Tap out. Let me get a piece of that.
And the best part is you could play by the book until it got fun, and then you're playing with your emotions. So you're like looking at a 5, and you got, you know, 2 8s or whatever. So you're splitting them, and then bam, Annie's fucking you up, and bam, Angie's fucking you up, and it doesn't matter what direction you're turning. Give me your money. Guy walks up, says what we're all thinking. This casino fucking sucks. And I'm like, man, I've just felt like you get me, bro.
You get it, dude. Man, that was so good. That was. It's so hard to comprehend what good timing that was. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Seth and James are sitting behind us chatting, and multiple times I go, "Hey guys, just let me know when you want to go. We'll lose my money tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
anytime.
Well, that was the whole point.
Waiting on you." And then
I'm running the messages by them. So you can't have your phone at the table, but
Yeah.
apparently you could scream in your Apple Watch. I have no understanding of how loud or quiet I'm being, what time it is, where I'm even at. All I know is someone's trying to communicate to me about midgets through my iWatch, and I'm trying to talk to the talking lady in the watch. So
And you look
voice
at
to
me, and I'm
text.
like, "Great idea. Let's do that." And we keep telling them, and they're not paying attention at all. We're trying to get ourselves out of the situation,
to.
but we need someone
Angie's confused. I remember when I'm screaming, I'm like, are there going to be midgets there? Angie's looking at me dealing cards like, what in the fuck are you guys into? And then our boys are no help.
And we're like,
No
we
help.
look at them. We're like, "Hey guys, whenever you want." Angie goes, "Hey, yeah, you should go." Like, Angie, no. You keep hurting me. They'll get me out of here. You're not getting me out of here.
The peak, though, when she has a card, she's like,
Baby shark.
Baby shark.
Daddy shark.
Ah, you suck. Yeah, that's right.
You
Give me
already
money.
knew it's coming. Give me that money.
I will put that value, that entertainment above Circus Light any day of the week. However many hundreds of dollars
Oh.
we paid for that.
That was so good. Oh, she
I
at least
never
made that
laughed harder.
a lot of fun. I think she laughed more than she ever had because she came. We first started there, just
Did
day
we
job.
even fucking tip her?
Oh, I was tipping her. Like I get a blackjack, I would throw her $5 or something.
Oh yeah,
you know?
that here and there. But the end, I mean, they took all our money. So
They took my money, and she was
Yeah.
laughing when we left. She was like, I was like, that's what I want to hear when I'm leaving the table.
yeah. Yeah, that was a beautiful moment. And the Airbnb overall, and so we also have a portion of this episode reserved for the Psychedelic Science Convention. Should have mentioned that at the beginning. This would be the great point for the editor. Put that at the beginning. Once we're done talking about, how fucking responsible we are, we'll talk about like one of the coolest things mankind's
Now,
managed to
the
cobble together.
professional side.
Yeah. Before we get there. No, the Airbnb was really nice. I was actually like supremely impressed having that many guys under one roof. And we only had so many slots, like that was tough in itself. I feel like we could have filled up an even bigger house, honestly.
Oh, 100%. We could have easily gotten way more people for sure. I mean, we were over the limit on that house anyways. Thank God they were cool about it. But, communicating with them and we left the place clean. They were happy with it. Everyone was cool with it in the end.
Were you there when we came back and the neighbor let me get on his Harley?
Yeah. Yeah.
That
We-
was
you-
you
you
were
were shooting-
shooting the fucking
you were
gun in the neighborhood.
Airsoft gun at the pigeon. He goes, yeah, we got a pigeon problem. I'm pretty much the assigned pigeon killer. Like, are you from here, sir?
He could have let me picked up a 308. I didn't know what I was holding. I had no business holding an airsoft gun.
He goes, there's a pigeon right there. Go ahead and take it out, actually.
Could have been a bolt action Remington for all I fucking knew. I was so down for whatever this man was suggesting. We walked over to the neighbor's house because your brother's a mechanic, and
When we showed up from whatever event we were from Doom Buggies, I saw the truck hood was up, and it was a very nice truck. So I wanted my brother to go over there and have the opportunity to talk with him. I asked him; he thought it was cool. Funny enough, when my brother left that, he was like, "That's a piece of shit truck." Like that guy thought he knew what he was talking about, and he just replaced. It's just like my brother. I thought this is cool shit. He talked to the my brother. He was like, "Yeah, it wasn't nothing." That guy acting like he knows what he's talking about. I was just like, "Oh my god, that's hilarious."
Yeah. The
That
worst
was when
part.
we got to talking with the neighbors. They just opened up. You want a beer? He was giving us Jaeger shots, like whatever.
Yeah, in his porn cave, right? That was the thing.
His
I
little
remember
porn cave back there. Oh yeah.
when as soon as I walked up, I think the first thing he said was like, "Hey, just try not to fuck this up too much." So the first thing I asked about was, how high quality are you getting, butthole images on that TV? To which he didn't miss a fucking beat, and he was like, "I like you. Let's take a Jaeger shot, and I'm gonna answer that question." Then at some point, it lets me get on his Harley. How I didn't shift that thing into gear and slam it into his back door, I don't know. I mean, I really wanted to drop that bad boy in first and just see what it could do for all 5 feet.
You start rolling backwards with it, and he's like, "Yeah, actually, if you put it in this gear, and you just go right on that way." You're just looking at him funny, like, "All right."
I trust you.
He goes, "Actually, if you take the airsoft gun while you're on it, you can really get some damage."
No, they introduced you as soon as we got there, though, right? Because it was the line of hey, whatever you guys have left over,
Drop them off here. Like,
whatever it is.
Yeah, we showed up because it's a nice little neighborhood that they got. The Airbnb's like, "Hey,
That was
just
a super nice house.
keep quiet, don't get super loud." And show up. The neighbors are outside. I'm like, perfect. I'm gonna go introduce myself. Told them, "Hey, look, bachelor party. We got about 15 guys. Things get loud. Please let us know." And they're like, "We do loud. Don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want to do, as long as whatever you have left over is on our front porch." At the end, they're like, I'm like, "Whatever on the front porch?" He's like, "I know you can't fly shit. Whatever's out there." I was like, "Yes, sir."
Yeah.
And they were cool as fuck the whole weekend. I mean, we didn't get very loud, but the neighbors are also telling us stories of some people that have been really ratchet there. Like he said, the bachelorette parties are the worst when they stay there.
I think the owners love the fact that we had one car the most. It was like
that was the big deal. Yeah, that was the big deal because the neighbor said it's the worst when they're just lined up with cars.
Yeah.
And the neighbor texted the owner, like, "Are you sure 15 guys are here?" He was like, "Yeah, there should be." He goes, "There's one car here, so I guess they're all in there."
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. I love everyone was super civil, great to get along with. No one tried to DDT anyone through a table.
Thank God. Yeah, everyone respected smoking outside, like they wanted. Like, hey, y'all do whatever, just smoke outside.
The second to last night, though, I will say, names aren't going to go mentioned, but there was a wild hair that came out of a couple of them boys. So we had factions. You were on the back porch with a group of folks, and there was a couple boys inside, and they were trying to decide what they're going to do because they had to leave the next day. And one of them was like, "I want to go to the strip club." And I wholeheartedly supported him in that. I'm like, "I see the evil in your eye. You should go." The other guy's like, "I don't know, man. You know, like, I'm thinking about like wanting to smoke a little bit." I'm like, "Okay, let's talk this through." You know, I'm like in real time, and I'm smashed. So I'm playing therapist, and I'm like, "Well, you know, like, what do you think?" And I think he really did want to go to the strip club. But even I, in the state I was in, could feel the energy coming from the other fellow. And I'm like, the last time I was here, I woke up on the side of the highway because of the look you have in your eyes. And I want to see it happen. I do. There's no part of me that's even worried about the consequences. I don't give a fuck. As long as you don't get behind the wheel of anything, I don't give a fuck. You should go tear off into that night, son. Just go kicking and screaming. And the other guy felt that energy too, and I know he did because that's when he was looking at me. He's like, "Colton, I don't know." And I'm like, "All right, man. If you don't go out there with I don't know energy, you got to go out there with like I can do this."
You gotta go out there in confidence. You can't be like, "What are we going to do?" At that time, you could not. At that time of the night, you can't be going
12:30. You're not going out there with no. You got to go out there like I'm gonna fuck shit up. Even the cops would lose respect for you. Like, "Oh, you would go home. You didn't feel prepared coming out here.
You didn't prepare coming out here. Oh, we have to take you in the back of our car now." Oh.
The strippers would be disappointed in you. They're like, "Oh, you didn't mean to smack my ass. Is that what it is?" Vegas making fun of a bitch ass tone.
Oh, dude, it would too. It would spit you, chew you up, spit you back out. It would real quick.
I didn't understand though is like the pool party vibe. How against drugs they were. Not that we would, we definitely didn't. We bought the bottles. We came there for the bottles, time,
right? 100%.
But if somebody did want to go there, the idea that you're in Vegas at like this premier pool party thing, you have this premier world-class DJ, you've spent fucking thousands and thousands of dollars on your shit, and you're getting like this mom vibe with like cops everywhere and like the security. I'm like,
what is going on?
What do you think built your city between Miami and Vegas? You guys really think like you got it going on like that? Like, no, it's drugs. This party is brought to you by drugs. We're here for the alcohol. Okay, that's what we did.
That's what you're providing.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I'm providing what I really am here for. Okay.
Others are providing others. But just couldn't wrap my head around that. I'm like, what is that about?
I remember there was one time because I'm helping take care. Everyone's doing good. And someone was like, "Dylan, I thought you'd be drinking. Why you help take care?" I was like, "Oh, I'm fucked up right now. Don't you worry. My tolerance is just way higher than all of yours. Like, don't you worry."
So all in all, that was beautiful. I will say
that "Live Like You Were Dying" set on the way back was beautiful.
You like that? I love that you gave me resistance. And so on the way back from the pool party, I put on "Live Like You're Dying," Tim McGraw. Dylan's like, turn it off.
Because I knew I was going to have poopy pants, and then I was like, I know the song. Fuck it.
Everyone knows that song, dude. I got two bangers in there: "Fight for Your Right" and "Live Like You're Dying."
That was good. Both of them fantastic. We had the whole bus singing.
The whole bus, nice camaraderie vibe. We're pulling in the steak place, screaming Beastie Boys. We're pulling in the house, screaming Live Like You're Dying.
That luxury was awesome too. That first night, that steakhouse, beautiful. We got the 4 steaks. Like they literally, the most expensive steaks, they come out hanging from something with the potatoes at the bottom. They scorch it out there, dripping the juices onto the potatoes, and then they cut it up in front of you. We got 4 of them bad boys. Put them out there. That was awesome.
So excited to see Bambi just on fire. It was
for sure.
So good.
Sure. It was so good. And then what was cool was we had Kavaris. He ordered everything for us and pay him back, but he just set it up for us. Shout out to him. But because he was Greek and then our server was Greek, I guess there's this thing where if you buy something from a Greek, they provide something in return. I don't know what the cultural tradition is in that, but from that, we got those free shots and those free big ass 8-layer chocolate cakes. Those were awesome at no cost, by the way.
Everybody looked at them chocolate cakes based on what we knew everything else cost. I was like, I'm not touching that. We didn't order that shit.
And y'all are all looking around. I had to explain to my end of the table, no, this is free. Just dive in. I just started diving in. Everyone looked at me like, are we good? I'm like, eat it. Yeah, it's just eat it. They just didn't want to say it's free because it's not it's their thing just to give, not be like, this is free. It's like, no, this is in return. Yeah. Plus we're buying the most expensive steaks on the fucking menu. I'm sure they didn't mind that.
Spent a fair amount of money there. It was a good time. So all in all.
And then we walked to Omnia, which that was the other thing too with our promoter was I asked him, should we take the limo from there to the Omnia? And he was like, good thing he told us, no, dude, it's a little 5-minute walk. Just walk over to it. You'll enjoy the walk. You're going down the strip.
Our buddy Will had a spot in the Caesars and went up there, hung out for a little bit.
And he was like, you don't need to take the limo. Just save your money. Go spend it somewhere else. Just walk over to it. It's not that far.
As we're talking about this, you ever just get one of those feelings where you're like, man, I just got healthy. Today's the first day I feel like a human. I am so ready to burn it back to the ground. I mean, if you said this weekend we're doing it again.
Right at it. I'll be right there with you.
Right there, dude. I tell you what. I don't
know what it is.
I don't know. Do you know I weighed myself? I think I sent you this a text. I lost 8 to 9 pounds.
15 pounds. 15 pounds. I wanted to wait to tell you that till we were on this podcast. I wanted to wait to tell you that till we were right here. I started the trip and ended the trip. I did not eat much at all.
15 pounds?
I ate the breakfast Christy said. I ate that little steak, that pizza strip, and some Crustables, and the steak. Entire week.
No, my favorite shit that Seth said the entire weekend, the day he got there, whatever, he was like, cool, and I ordered Instacart. I was like, oh, thank God, we got some real groceries coming. Because remember at Walmart, I told you, hey, it's not our responsibility to get everybody's groceries.
Thank God.
And Seth came through, man. I was like, all right, sick. This motherfucker goes, yeah, man, I know how much you love Crustables, so I got you some Crustables.
Why we have 4 boxes of Crustables?
I fucking hate Crustables, man. I fucking hate them. His face dropped. He's like, what's the problem? You ate them the whole time at Okeechobee. I'm like, it's the only fucking thing we could eat. This is the only thing we could eat.
That's the only mushable thing I could put in my mouth.
It's like,
this will go down all right.
I would have clawed open a fucking can of Chef Boyardee and spoon fed it by hand to myself. I didn't give a fuck what was in front of me. I just needed food.
I just remember we were at the Bellagio. We were in I saw y'all you waited in line for that pizza, and I went and sat with my brother, and that pizza looked good. I just went and sat with my brother, and I was like, hey, buddy, I need you to come through on this one, man. I need a pizza right here in front of me. I don't care how you get it right there, but it's over there. It's about 20 minutes. He's like, all right, I got you, buddy.
Yeah, dude. Once I latch on to food, I mean, that's the thing. Bender weekends or not, I can find the food, and I'll get the food in me. How have you must have not eaten hardly
I didn't
anything.
eat much at all.
I don't know how you had such a good attitude though, because that's the thing. I feel I only eat when my attitude starts to shift. I know when I start getting snippy with people, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not all butterflies.
Well, that's what I
and
wanted.
rainbows.
I wanted everything set up so that way there was a plan. And once there was a plan, that's why I have Brian, right? Like there's a schedule, we get here, and as long as there was a schedule, I didn't have to think about anything. I just wanted to go, baby. And that's what it was. That was perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. It happened. And then we did Meow Wolf. That was fantastic. Like, that was a good little break. Like just like slow it down. Slow it down.
I really want to go back to that place tripping though, because
100%. we were in the worst shape in that place.
Yeah. Did we?
Was,
I don't know.
that's still how good. That's still how good that place was. Was like even in our state, we were like, that was a great time.
And then we come back, we have that like end of the night ritual where everyone's kind of like huddled together. We're sharing stories. And then we had a couple funky monkeys that were tripping in there, and they're telling this like legit fabrics and themes that stretch throughout this whole place about how a woman's like lost a baby and she's searching for the entity and the energies of the different rooms, like the clues they lay out. I'm like,
turns out there's a whole conspiracy theory within it. That was crazy. It's not just a visually appealing. It's also a horror story in there. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, if they would have projected what was going on the inside of my mind, it definitely would have been rated R. Because that was ugly, son. That was, by the time we got to Meow Wolf or Meow Wolf got to me. Oh.
One of the two. That was a good time. Yeah, that whole weekend was a blast. Everyone had a blast too, as well, which I'm glad.
You got less sleep than I did, I believe. And I got 12 hours sleep in 4 days, Thursday through Monday. So in that span, I got about 12 hours sleep, and you got less sleep than I did. So I probably was at
5, 6 hours is probably what I was running.
It is so impressive.
It's horrible, but it's what I want.
No, it's impressive. I mean, like think about, it's like the Moab runners, right? Like the Moab desert running thing. That's what we did. No one just wants to recognize like the true champions here. Right?
I mean, everyone also was like, oh, even my brother was like, oh, this is many years of training went into making this happen.
You do have to, like, honest to God, all my healthy friends when I go back here to Austin, or even the buddies in Denver, they were like that impressed, but also that like, come on, man. And I'm like, I know, but like, I can't not tell you that. Like, I'm really excited. Like, I'm proud of myself,
I'm proud of myself. Came back. I went to the gym a couple of days later. Right back at it.
The gym has been rough this week. It's been something. So that, so we turn a page here, and let's get into psychedelic science. You want to dig into that a little bit, and
psychedelic science.
Psychedelic science. Just mushrooms.
A whole new world direction.
It was. So I came off of Vegas, flew from Vegas straight to Denver for the world's largest psychedelic conference. And that night I slept 14 hours. That was beautiful. I slept like a rock. And then
and good thing you had that too, right? Before going into doing this thing, you got 14 hours.
On the surface, you hear that, right? And then once I actually got into the event, you have the event during the day, lots of programs, talks, networking, vendors, cornucopia of things you can do to support your business, other people's business, get involved, etc. And then they have events in the evening, which are either like dedicated networking events or parties. So I didn't think about this. I don't know why I didn't think about this, but the friends that I have in Denver, of course, are of the same demographic of my friends that would be attending the conference. So everybody gets together. It's this big networking party energy. So the very first night coming off the sleeper, I'm like right back into I'm like, oh my God, it is straight back into this party thing. So I'm having to do like networking during the day. And you do a little networking at the events, and then you have the like
brutal.
You have the real happy networking energy where you're not just watching a DJ. People are like, oh, what do you do? Where are you from? What are you interested in? Like, have you seen this genus of mushroom? This fungi is sick, right? And I'm like, fucking what? It was just so much to keep my shit together because you're hanging out with your fucking idols, you know? Like,
Yeah.
people I've died to meet for years and years and years, and you're like, oh, cool. I'm just shaking this person's hand that I've idolized for the last 5-6 years of my professional life, and I'm really trying to focus on not shitting myself right now. I forgot to take Pepto earlier. So this is fucking awesome. That was a legitimate thought, by the way. I almost did shit myself.
I believe you.
So maybe not the best promo for the maps there, but I will say I was incredibly impressed. Way bigger conference than I thought it'd be. If you needed to find a talk, one of my favorite things to visit was Canine Corner. So if you felt overwhelmed at any point, you could go to this room. They had service animals, and so every day I went to Canine Corner and tried and tracked down the service animals, and you just hang out with them.
That's
Lewis,
cool.
Great dog, and you just pet the dog, and then you're like, okay, if everything else goes to hell in a handbasket, I got to pet the dog. I've got to pet a dog today. And
Yeah.
So they had everyone from Michael Pollan to Aubrey Marcus, Aaron Rodgers.
I saw that. That was pretty cool, seeing him there talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the vendors were also really cool because they had the biggest mushrooms I've ever seen. I mean, by a mile. Mushrooms. So they had all these vendors. Denver has very progressive laws now around personal use of substances. So you could get caught with, say, like a couple of grams of meth, and the cop would just give you, if he wanted to be an ass, he'd give you a written arrest, a citation, and you're on your way. Similar thing goes with mushrooms, LSD, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going around the vendor row, and there's all these really cool companies. I got a couple companies for our friends that are interested in growing their own medicine, and they just have these bags with mushrooms the size of your face. I couldn't tell if it was an elephant foot or a mushroom. Legitimately, I couldn't tell if it was a culinary mushroom or a psychedelic mushroom. I had to ask several times, even though I'm looking at what looks like an avatar mushroom. I mean, the thing is blue. It looks like it's been beaten, like it was divorced mushroom or something, and there was domestic violence amongst the mushrooms, and they were beating shit out of each other. So they were fucking huge. And I just couldn't believe they had them all hanging out. So the last day, I go to one of the vendors, and I was like, hey, man, he had like a moving tub full of mushrooms. And if you're local, he was just kind of handing them out. Maps, if you don't like any of this, just hit us up. We'll edit this shit out. And somebody came by and told him, like, snitched on him or whatever, and none of that made sense because he put it away. I was like, why'd you put him away? He's like, they said they were going to call the cops. He's like, I've literally had the cops come by every day. One cop stopped by, looked at the mushrooms, and was like, nice. He kept on walking.
Nice.
So
he's like, I'll be back here later.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. It was wild. It was a wild experience.
I bet it was kind of weird having, because being in our type of business, we've both been to tons of conferences to know what they're like, right? Like they're not great. No one really likes them, but they're needed and what you have to do. Yeah. But then you're taking this thing that you actually really do like, and an experience that you do like to have, and combine it with a conference, right? Was it kind of like surreal going through that, or was it? They were trying to keep it professional, whereas also being like, here's also kind of where the direction of things are going.
It was very professional. That's a great question too. It was very professional, but also with this like sense of optimism. Like typically when you're at a business conference, there's that air of obligation, like you're speaking to. It's like it's needed. Well, this is the first time I felt something that's needed that felt really progressive and fresh. I was a part of a couple, as my networks were beginning to overlap and my connections were all kind of like showing up in similar circles. I began to find some really healthy friction with people that like just legitimately did not get along because of their opposing viewpoints of how the same issue should be tackled. Like kind of coming to blows in a couple
Wow.
of conversations where I felt I was visibly uncomfortable. I left the circle. I was like, you guys sort out whatever fucking match you got going on here, and I'll be back up, hang out with you guys once this is settled.
That's interesting because usually when you're in, let's say groups of talks of the circle, usually everyone's in agreement, like love mushrooms, da 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 da. But this is now, folks, this is professional hippies, right? Like this is at a level now where it's professionals at handling this, pushing things through, needing what to do. And now you have, split sides of how it should be done.
Yeah.
And then
you
now
you have a vendor there that was the Psychedelic Bar Association. So you have like full-time lawyers that are dedicated to psychedelic law.
Wow.
And very legitimate organizations, retreat centers, ketamine clinics, associations and communities. And it was a sight to behold. And also like just the dress code, you had some people dressed up to the nines, as what you'd expect as like a professional delivering a keynote. And then you had other indigenous populations represented. They did, there's criticism from all corners. That was the one thing I didn't really appreciate, is this being the first of its kind. They did an incredible job. It was, they had an app. So if you needed to find something, you'd click what room it's in and pull up a map, show you where you're at, how to get there. And it was a lot going on. It was overwhelming is the word I'd use every day. But to see where we're at now, to think of even 10 years ago that there would be a conference that had 14,000 people in attendance, all with the singular focus of like, hey, this should be decriminalized, this should be legalized, this should be in arm's reach of anyone that wants it. It was like this, we haven't arrived, but it was like being on the precipice of we've arrived at a landmark moment in human history. It's wild.
Do you think others appreciated that while they were there? Like, this is wild that this is happening, or do you think some people were taking it for granted, like to have this conference? Like, of course we should be having this conference, or were there a lot of people like, can you believe we have this right now? We can all be here, okay, talking about this?
Yeah, I think for the OGs, the ones that are slightly more instrumental in putting together grassroots movements, it might be lost on them. For me, even the only real regret I had was coming off of our bachelor party week, going into that, because I had to be very focused on who I was spending my time with, who I'm looking to speak with, seeking that out. So like some of that, like butterfly energy, some of that like sparkliness wasn't quite there. Like I had to be really relying on caffeine to kind of get me through the days. So even that was kind of lost on me. But I think for the most part, 90% of the people I spoke to were just gobsmacked when you walked in and you just saw how big the place was, the conference center, how nice the Denver Conference Center is. It was beautiful, immaculate, clean, and huge. Fucking huge.
Huge.
Trump would approve.
Huge.
Probably not, but I mean, that dude looks like he boofed some mushrooms.
He'd be like, how do I make money off of this? That's cool too. Shout out Norspor, Elia, and Psychedelic. Got to see them there too.
Psychedelic, Colin, Beth, Weinstein. I ran into so many folks. Sheva, Henry from Tricycle Day. There were so many people that I ran into that I didn't even realize would be there. Some of the people I orchestrated with, Raj was there. He, I got to meet the guy. Well, I'll keep that on the down low, actually. There's one guest that I'm working on getting us on that is instrumental right now in piecing together the Shulgin family, their estate. We had a great connection. And the Shulgin family is the one that is responsible for the development of MDMA and the protocol for distributing it to therapists. And so I'm in talks with their lawyer who's in charge of, they've since passed away and the family's trying to figure out what to do with the estate. And I'm trying to get that lawyer on our podcast.
That would be awesome. Hopefully big
he said
things
he's
come
down.
there.
Said he's down. So I just got to
Should we wait to post this episode? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I mean, no one's gonna know how to get to him anyway. But that was the thing that I was really taken back by, was the caliber of individuals. Some of the rooms I was fortunate enough to be in, and the conversations I got to have, for whatever reason, it was really humbling, because you're seeing people that are in this position in life. Some of them have just grinded the psychedelic route underground, and some of them have made, like we've had guests on our show that have just made their money in a traditional path. They're just gifted or grinded. However they got there, and now they're looking to give back in a way. And you see that kind of like with Aubrey Marcus, right? Aaron Rodgers, like they've blazed their own path, and now they're like, actually, this is really interesting to me. I want to give back in that way. And yeah, so many smart people in that space.
Those are the most interesting ones to me in this path, right? Because like, let's Aaron Rodgers, for example, right? He's not in this for a financial reason. Yeah. He did something that was stepping outside the cookie cutter path that most people in his industry and probably his life would probably not be doing this. And he decided to step outside the boundaries. And now it's awesome that he's taking the next step of stepping outside the boundary and talking about it openly, and sharing his experience of like, hey, this is a path I was down. I decided to step a foot out a little bit, and going to like these psychedelic conferences and talking about his experience. And I think those are like Aubrey Marcus. Like, he doesn't need money to talk about these things. He's just like, I just want to share from an open-hearted position, like what it's doing for me and how it's helped me. Yeah,
and Tim Ferriss gave a great address that I hope is cool. Released, because for whatever reason he couldn't be there in person, but he still addressed the crowd. And one of the things that I was kind of taken back by, Tim is donated about 10% of his net worth to psychedelics. Wow. And he wouldn't disclose roughly what that figure is, but if I just had to take a guess, I'm going to say it's the millions and millions of dollars. Tim Ferriss, Hurtin, 5 #1 New York Times bestsellers.
Well, I know he's a lot of his, when he says put into psychedelics too, like it's not just like donating. I know it's like into industries. Like
it's very targeted, right?
Targeted, like there will be an investment return on this.
It won't be actually. That's the thing.
You don't think so?
No, he was very explicit about that. He said, for the betterment of psychedelics as a whole, he wanted to remain unbiased. So he's only investing in kind of like research or things that aren't going to turn a profit for him, so that he can criticize the psychedelic industry and not have any blowback from like, hey, of course you'd say that because you're going to make a profit or whatever. So he's only investing in things like the Beckley Foundation. Wow. And their research and et cetera. So,
I don't know why this popped in my head, but it's almost like someone like, I want the best shit before it gets out to the public. Send that to me and I'll test it.
And that was the other cool part, right? So you have like, that's where the friction would occur. Some of the people are like, we don't need any new medicines. We don't need to prove everything we got is great right now. And other people are like, you mean to fucking tell me if you could trip for 15 minutes on some MDMA and there's no side effects, you wouldn't want that? Like, that feels like a novel mechanism worth pursuing. Here's $100 million. So there's
100%. Why would anyone say that too? It's like when there was just mushrooms and be like, so you're telling me if you got to trip for 15 hours on acid, that had to be researched and done in order to create that.
Great counter arguments to everything.
Everything. So, oh yeah, there's counter arguments to everything, but it's also like, because there's a need for every single thing. There's a want for every single thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things that your point brings in that conference was attempting to do is have everyone have a platform, and it's all kind of funneling back to a similar or same goal and mission, and that's just equal access, right? So, I wish I had opportunity to attend more talks. I think they're going to refine that. Some of the spaces, like most of the talks I tried to go to, you couldn't even get in there. They had fire marshals that were like, literally, whoa, you can't come in the room, and the room would hold several hundred people or 1,000 people or whatever. And it was still, so they have to figure out some of that demand and whatnot, but they'll figure it out. It's just like, hey, man, that was the first of its kind, and it was awesome. I mean, I couldn't.
It was a hive. It was like a beehive of just everyone, of just energy focused directly on this.
Oh, I don't know if that's in you, the video. So when I went to try and meet East Forest for the second time, he was doing a performance, and they were doing some really cool thing. I don't exactly know. It was Bonobo, East Forest, and another performer. And I went to the address. I wasn't on the email list. I bought a ticket, and I guess I did what I always do. I'm like, no, don't send me your promotional bullshit. So that really fucked me this time around. So I go to the address. They've moved the address a block away. And so I'm sitting in my car, and I'm like, okay, well, I text my buddies, and they're like, oh, they moved it back an hour. I'm like, okay. So I'm just hanging out. And I was like, man, I kind of got to pee. So I go to Torchy Tacos, grab me a Warrito, and use the bathroom. Excuse me, I use the bathroom. And then I walk out of Torchy Tacos, and I see a line wrapped around the block. And I was like, oh, they damn sure did move it, but people still did show up. So I go back to Torchy Tacos, grab me a Warrito, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go tackle this line. I'm waiting in line, meeting some groovy people. And I'm not really that tied to it. I'm like, I need sleep. I got to go to network the next day. I'm like, if this line moves, cool. If it doesn't, I'm going to pop out. So I'm just waiting to see how long the line moves. And then we see this massive storm cell start to form in front of us. And this thing's cooking, dog. Like when you start to see it bellow back and you didn't take any psychedelics, when this thing's furling into itself and you didn't take any mushrooms, you know that thing's nasty. So I see it coming. And I've got my little poncho, my drug rug that I bring to the music festivals. And I was like, I'm sober as a bird. I'm just here to hang out, meet some people or whatever. I'm like, if it starts raining, I'm going to peace out. Me and this guy next to us are talking. He's not at a psychedelic conference at all. He drove an hour to be there just to go see these performers. Awesome guy, Marty, shout out. And I was like, Marty, if it starts raining, because Marty did take mushrooms, okay? And I was like, Marty, if it starts raining, I'm probably going to have to peace out, buddy. He's like, hey, I totally understand. It's been great chilling with you, man. So it starts raining. And I'm like, all right, I think this is my curtain call. Then it starts hailing.
Oh, that's right. That I saw the Red Rocks hailing stuff. That's right.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. Tornadoes.
Holy
like
shit.
softball size hail. Then I said, I'm not going anywhere. This is where it gets interesting because I know this line. Okay. This woman next to me makes a comment, which I totally agree with. She says, hey, if any group can hold their stuff together, I'm pretty certain this is the group. While I tend to agree with that, okay, people that have done a lot of psychedelics can typically handle altered states of consciousness particularly well. When you have the size of hail coming down on you like that, man, when I tell you beautiful chaos, because no one wants to lose their spot in the line, I don't give a fuck about being there at any point. I'm emotional support for Marty, who drove an hour, great life story about Hawaii or something, and everyone else. I just feel this tenseness because Marty told me when he took his mushrooms. So I'm using him as the timestamp, and I'm looking at the line to see when everyone else is starting to trip because they expected to be inside about the same time Marty did and I did. So when Marty and I started talking, it started raining. He was like, I'm not really feeling anything. As soon as it starts hailing, that's when the mushrooms start hitting. And I'm looking up and down the line, and I'm seeing nothing but willies. I'm seeing the wall start to crawl for these folks, and they don't know where to go because there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. It was so fucked up and beautiful at the same time. I mean, people just getting slugged with hail. Oh, it was so good.
You can handle pain in your consciousness. Physical pain comes into play. That's a different story.
Well, the funny part was I had my hands on top of my head to protect my head, and a couple times the hail slapped my knuckles, and I was like, ow, and then I'd open it up and another big piece of hail would smack me on the head.
This guy's like, gotcha, bitch.
Didn't know what to do. That was fucked up.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, because I saw all those stories from Red Rocks. I didn't even think that's what you would be in at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And no one saw it coming. That was the crazy part. It just came out of nowhere.
No, yeah, it happened 2 days in a row. The next day, I was in the conference center, and they did the Amber Alert, but for hail. And yeah, I was with one of the owners of one of the really prominent companies there, and she got an alert that a tornado was heading towards the daycare of where her child was at. So, never got an update on that, but I assume she's put enough karma out in the world. And I hope everything's good. So yeah, man. I mean, all in all, it was an incredible week. I don't know that I would not recommend it to anyone, especially myself. But yeah,
should we get a booth there next year? I feel like we should.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Like this is like, folks, when we're talking about like professional hippies and what we're building this podcast around, like right there, that is the exact thing of like this stuff is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to just kind of build, like, help inform you guys about what's coming and kind of be the lead way on the podcast of, it'd be kind of cool to be one of the OGs in this area, down the line.
They had Podcast Row. They had a hallway dedicated towards podcasts and getting the information out. So I'd love next year if we can, with you guys' help at home or car, or wherever you listen to this at.
Hail, whatever.
Yeah, in line, getting hailed on. If you support this content, we can grow with you like a mushroom.
Like a little mushroom. And let us know on everything too. Give us a little follow, like, subscribe, feedback, comment. Tell us we suck. Tell us we're great. I don't care. Just give us something.
Yes, be critical. Tell me what my father never did. Anything.
This is how we got here, folks. So if you love this episode, folks, I hope you enjoyed it just as much as we got to share everything with you about this great bachelor party weekend and then a true side of the professional hippies. And we'll be there definitely next year. Give us a like or follow. Share with those that you love. Share with your friends. Share with those that you don't like. Whatever. Just help us out. Get us out there. Colton, one last thing. If there was a question you wish more people asked you at this conference, what would it have been?
About midgets, wholeheartedly. I can't believe I just willed that into existence.
Mm-hmm.
I was praying you'd ask me, and it's really just been trying to burrow its way out of my head the entire episode. Midgets, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, especially after Vegas. That was what was on most people's minds. So, until next time.
It's not really a question, but okay. Yep. Love you guys.
Peace.